Hello everyone, this is Suresh from Azure ADB. Today our topic is how to get maximum and minimum values from a column of data frame. So first I'm importing required functions like min and max column, and from types I'm importing date type. So first I'm creating one sample data frame that has both integer values and date values. So I have total four columns: ID, company, salary, and joining date. So I'm creating data frame here by using create data frame by using this data and columns. So if I read this data frame, since this is a string, so this date record will read as string data type. So for that, this particular column, joining date, so these values I am converting from string type to date type. So my call is joining date dot cast date type. So if you see my data frame, see now this is date type. And similarly, if you check here, joining date, it coming as date. Okay, so if you don't use this one, then this column you'll get it as string data type. So now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use aggregate function here. So by using aggregate function, I'm trying to find out minimum and maximum values. So here I'm selecting one is integer column, one more is date column. So what I'm doing is df dot aggregate, and I'm using max of salary. I want to find out maximum salary from this column, and I given here alias of max underscore salary. Next, I want to find out minimum salary. So I given minimum of salary column name, and I given alias here minimum underscore salary. And same syntax I am applying on date column, that is joining date. So max of date and minimum of date. And I given alias names as this one. So if I try to run this one, so for max salary, I will get one is max salary and minimum salary. So if I check here, see in these values, what is the maximum value? Can say this one. I think this one, 39580. So that one we are getting. And similar way, what is the minimum value? This is minimum value. So that we are getting here, maximum value and minimum value. So similarly, for joining date column, we want to find out maximum value and minimum value from this. So if you check in this date column, so this is maximum date, 25th, year 25th, and 2020. That is a minimum date. So next, this is one method using aggregate function. And second method is we can use select, and we can use with and minimum. So by using select, how we can do is df.select, and inside that we can give max function on salary column, and this is alias, and similarly minimum of salary alias. So what we'll get is it will go for salary column, and it will find out what is maximum value and minimum value. So this will get output. So similarly, same syntax I'm applying on joining date by using maximum and minimum. So we'll get here maximum and minimum record from this particular column. So this is a second method by using select maximum and minimum function. So similarly, third option is using group by. So earlier we used aggregation only df dot aggregate. So now I'm using group by. So why I'm using group by is I have company, and I have different company names here. So I want to find out maximum value and minimum value based on company wise. So for that, what I'm doing, first I'm doing df dot group by company column. If you see here, company column, we have this one and we have list of company names. So I want to segregate like company wise. So I given df dot group by company. So total we have 6 companies, and on top of that, for each company, I want to find out what is maximum value, maximum salary, and minimum salary. So this syntax is common dot aggregate. So max of salary and min of salary. So for each company, it will give what is maximum salary, what is minimum salary. If you see our initial data frame, so first we can see ITC. So ITC, here one is there, and here one. So total we have 3. So in this, if you see here, what is maximum value? That is 98700. This is maximum value, and in this minimum value is this one 36700. So similar way, if you see other companies, second one is Bemel. If you see in that, so Bemel, we have this one, 2, and 3. And which is the maximum value? That is for Bemel, this one, okay, 99550. And what is minimum value? This is 6800. So similarly, you can find out for other companies. First, you can group and list down all the company names, and from that group, you can find out what is maximum value and minimum value. So fourth option is you can use a describe function. So describe function, it will works only for numerical columns. So mainly it will give you statistics like count, mean, standard deviation, minimum and maximum. So what I'm doing is df dot select. So I'm selecting salary column. On top of that, I'm using describe. So since salary is integer column, so it will work. The describe will work, and it will give it giving all these statistics. So in this we required min and max. So what is min? 5550. So that is for salary column now. So if you see here, see 5550, and max is 39580. 39580. So if you want for other integer column, you can mention that column name. It will give you the list. What is minimum value and maximum value. So what is the summary of all these methods? So first method is aggregate of. In aggregation, we used max and min functions. So this works for integers and it works for dates. So what it returns is single row with min and maximum value. So what is our second method? Select, and inside that we mentioned max and min. So this also will work for both integer columns and dates. And this also will return single row with minimum value and maximum value. So third method we used group by and aggregation. Group by we mentioned column name, and in aggregation we mentioned max and minimum value. So this also will work for integer and dates, and this also will give minimum and maximum value, but per group, or you can say per group or per department, or per company. And the last one is the describe method we used. So it works only for integers and it won't work for dates. So what it gives is statistics including min and max. So now we'll check with one more example by using some sample data frame. So I have one CSV file. So in this, I have this many columns. So in this I have, so these two are ID columns, and mainly here I'm concentrating on date columns. Start date one date column is there, and our integer column is cost value, and and these four date columns. So now we'll try to find out min and maximum value on these columns. So the syntax can be written in any of the way. Any of this way you can follow it. So if you are using aggregate function, what we have to write is df dot aggregate, and inside dictionary we can mention first column name and what is your aggregate function minimum. And I written one more variable df dot aggregate column name and function max function I given. So one for minimum and one for maximum. That is one method. One more method is df dot aggregate. So here itself I'm mentioning multiple columns. So customer underscore value. For this I want to find out minimum value. Product underscore version ID. For this I want to find out minimum value. So for these respective columns, I given separate variable to find out max and uh, to find max value. Okay, so you can follow either of these methods. So this I given for single column, this I given for multiple columns, and similar way you can write for df dot aggregate, and inside that maximum of column and alias, minimum of column dot alias. So in either of these three ways you can uh, do for aggregate function. And the second one is collect. So collect df dot select and minimum of column value. Since we given df dot select, it will select you that particular column. In that particular column, minimum record it will find out, but it will give you data frame. The result is in data frame. For getting the value, we had to use collect 00. So then we will get minimum value. So similar way, max function I used. So by using this, you can find out maximum value from this particular column. So similar way, df dot aggregate. Here I'm using minimum and given alias df dot aggregate maximum function of this particular column and alias, and on top of that I given collect 00. So what is this difference between select and aggregation is, in aggregation you can mention alias here. Okay, so that is the difference. And you can mention multiple functions, minimum, maximum. So like multiple functions, you can mention it in aggregation. And one more method, same thing, you can write it in other way, df dot aggregate, minimum of this column, alias. Instead of writing collect 00, you can write collect 0. That means it will go for first row. In first row, it will select first column, first row, first column. And a similar way for max. So you can replace max. So this is about collect method. Next, first function, you can use it using first. So here also df dot aggregate, minimum of column alias name, first I given. So here instead of collect 0, I given first. So that means it will go for, it will select only first row. So here also collect 0, it will select first row. Same it will do with function first also. So first it will give you first row, and this is first row, first column. So that means in data frame, first record it will print you. So there are three methods. You can follow any of these method. So first I'm trying for integer columns. So I'm going for first method using select function by using max and minimum function. So here what I'm doing, this is my data frame and I'm using select function, and inside that I'm mentioning I want to find out minimum value of this column. So this is the integer column we have in our data frame. So for that I want to find out minimum value. So similar way I given max. So same syntax. So instead of minimum, I'm giving max. So to find out maximum value. So the other method, like see these two giving either minimum value or maximum value. So here I'm using aggregate function to find out both max and minimum value. So inside aggregation, I given max of this column and alias name, minimum of this column and alias name. So I'm trying to display here all these three variables I'm trying to display. So what is first one is minimum value, that is 25, and maximum value is 166. So same thing, it displaying at single shot by using this aggregation max and minimum. So what we did now is we have cust underscore value in our data frame. If you see here, say this is our cust underscore value column. So we have how many rows? 50 rows we have. That means 50 records. So out of 50 records, I want to find out what is the minimum value and maximum value. So that we find out here. And second one is, so same thing, these explanations I given about this code. So you can go through this. So what I given, okay. So this is about collect, this syntax we have now collect. So about this I give an explanation. So you can go through that, this explanation. So and the third one is, so here I'm using collect function. So using select and I want to find out minimum. So this code I want to explain. So earlier we discussed, no, so how to use collect. If you go to this syntax, this one. So now we are going step by step to understand clearly. So what I did, first I given minimum of this column and I given only collect. So what collect will give you? Only row it will give you output. So in this particular column, it will find out minimum value. Since we used only collect, it will give you in the form of row. Okay, so that's why you're giving row minimum of cust value equal to 25. But our value is 25. So similarly, max value is 166. So now for same code, I am applying 0 and 0. So what does is in this particular row, first 0 it mentions for it will select first row and whatever this one, it will select you first column. So that you will get this 25 and 166. So about this collect, I already made one video it is in my PySpark playlist. So there I clearly mentioned about this one by one and for multiple scenarios, you can go through that video. So if you want to go in depth about this. So same thing I mentioned here, how this code works. So next one is using aggregate function. So this is my DF data frame. Here I'm using aggregate function and inside that I'm mentioning minimum value. So minimum of this particular column and I given alias. So this is our third method. If you see here, first we go for collect. Okay, so this one we covered now and now we are discussing about this one first. So instead of collect 0, we are using first. Okay, so instead of collect 0, we are using first 0. So that means it will select first row, then it will select first column, first row, first column. So that record will give you, that is this one 25. So similar way, if you want to go through further how this code is working, what I'm doing, I'm trying to display only up to here. So up to here, what it giving you? It giving you 25. but it giving in data frame format. Okay, it is a data frame. So for getting value, what I'm doing is, so first I'm trying to explain with dot first. So what output you will get if you give dot first, no? So up to here, you are getting this one data frame with one record. If you mention first, it will convert you like this. Okay, row of, and this is your column name equal to 25. If you give first, next what I'm giving first, and I'm mentioning column name, this column name. So what it giving in this particular row. So from this row, it will check for first column. That means this column. Okay, so index of this column, then it will give you only value 25. So similar way, this is method one. See here I mentioned method one using aggregate and function. And these two steps I explained about how this code works. And method two is for finding minimum value. Here I'm using aggregate and function. So here we used aggregate and first. Here aggregate and collect. So this is same aggregate, and inside that minimum of column, and I given collect 0, 0. See whatever I mentioned here, no different syntax. So I'm trying to explain all these things. Okay. So all give you same result, and different methods I'm explaining here. Now this one is over up to here, and this same code example I given here. So how it works, df dot select. So up to here, what it give you output. So you're telling that it typically used to fetch a scalar result, that means single value in the context of data frame without requiring explicit grouping. And df dot aggregate, inside that I mentioned minimum function. So we give an aggregation, no? So this aggregation operation function, what it does is it will also give you minimum value of this particular column. So when we need to use this aggregation is this we commonly used when computing multiple aggregations, minimum, max, average. Like suppose in aggregation, if you see some places I mentioned two functions like minimum and max. See here, df dot aggregate. One is max function, one more is minimum function. So like this, different aggregate functions you can mention in this. Otherwise, you can directly use df dot select. So that's all about this one, this text. So as of now, we saw about how to find minimum and maximum value for integer column. So now we'll see for date column. So first we'll go for using aggregate function. If you see in our data frame, as we discussed initial, so we have multiple date columns. And if you take screenshot of this, so what we have first is start date one is there, start underscore date. And we have other four columns. Now we'll go for this. We'll check one by one. So first here what I'm doing, df dot aggregate, and inside that I want to function minimum value of start underscore date column. And top of this I am using this method collect 0, 0. So first one is start underscore date. So from start underscore date column, so it will find out your minimum value and maximum value. That is this one, minimum value, maximum value. So we'll try to find out for some other column. So here, same syntax I'm using here, same code, df dot aggregate, minimum of this particular column, base start date, and this collect is same, collect 00. And this is for what? Base underscore start date, this one. So in this particular column, it will go through all the records and it will find out what is minimum date in this column and what is maximum date in this column. So it find out minimum value and minimum date and maximum date. So similar way, base end date. So we have this one second column. So for this column, it will find out you minimum date and maximum date. Okay, so next similar way, base expiration date. So here we have one more column, that is base expiration date. So in this particular column, it will find out you what is minimum date and what is maximum date. So that we are getting here, minimum value and maximum value. So one final thing is here I'm using for this particular column, base last sales date. So for this particular column, it will find out you minimum value and maximum value. See, this syntax is same, and here also for finding date also, we have multiple methods. In this, I am using collect 00. So if you see in our sample syntax, so I'm using this one. Okay, this one I'm using. And so total we have four options we have. So either using select statement or aggregate with min and max and collect. There is one more thing, aggregate, collect, and instead of 00, this one 0 and with one index, and otherwise by using first. So in this I used this one. So you can follow either of the uh, one method among these four methods. Okay, even this aggregate this also including this. So you can follow any of the method. So that's all about this video, how to find minimum and maximum values of any particular column. So if you really like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you.